So last week I had some time off my usual life and my usual job here in Toronto. So I decided to jump on my bike and become an Uber Eats delivery rider for a week. In this video, I'm going to share with you exactly how I set myself up to be a delivery driver, my experience of actually delivering the food itself, as well as sharing exactly how much I made throughout the week. Let's get into it. Friends, and a huge welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Cameron Gibson, and on this channel I talk about self-development and improvement, opportunities, and really just how to get the most out of yourself. So if that kind of thing sounds interesting to you, then be sure to hit the big red subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any of my future videos. So yeah, last week I decided to become an Uber Eats delivery driver. It was kind of off the bat. I didn't think too much about it. I just needed something to do. I was a little bit bored. I've recently bought a bike, which I absolutely love. Getting around Toronto in the summer is amazing on a bike because there is cycle lanes everywhere, and I thought, heck, you know what, I've got some time off, I want to be a bit more active and a bit more fit, and I want to make a little bit of extra cash on the side. Why not become an Uber Eats rider? So I want to start off by talking about how I set myself up to do this. Now, the obvious first thing that I did was I downloaded the Driver app. Uber uses the exact same app for drivers of normal Ubers that they do for the delivery part of Uber Eats. Oh, there we go, the Uber Driver app there. So I found this super interesting to get a bit of an insight into that app, and once I downloaded the app, I just signed in with my normal Uber account. From there, it took no more than 15 minutes to fill out all the paperwork that you had to online. All I had to do was upload an ID document, along with my proof of eligibility to work in Canada, which for me was just my work permit. And after this, all I had to do was to wait for them to validate all my credentials. This took about 12 hours for them to do, which I think is super quick. It means from downloading the app and being able to go out and actually deliver was about 12 hours, which is no time at all. So within a day of deciding to become a rider, I was out doing my first delivery. Other than setting up the app itself, the only other things I had to worry about was a bike, which as I said, I already had. But obviously if you don't have a bike, you can also deliver using a car, or you can even deliver just on foot, which I did genuinely see some people doing. Other than my bike, the only other things that I needed was a phone holder for my bike handlebars, which took me way longer than I'd care to admit to install onto my bike, and some sort of way to carry the food while I was cycling. There's no actual requirement for this from Uber themselves, but I did decide to buy one of the kind of classic delivery person backpacks because A, it was pretty cheap, B, I thought it was going to be super useful, and C, quite a lot of individual restaurants will actually refuse your delivery, as in they won't give you the food to go and deliver for them unless you have one of these insulated backpacks. That's what my hair looks like? Oh my god. If in doubt, cover it up. This arrived. Let's crack into it. Yes, this is a lot bigger than I expected it to be, which is fine, I guess. I guess we can try it on, see how it looks. Feels pretty comfy, feels pretty nice. Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. I look like some sort of weird turtle. But once I had all this in place, I was ready to rock and roll, and I went out on my first day delivering as a driver. So I also want to talk a little bit about my experience throughout the week of delivering for Uber Eats. I'll be entirely honest with you, my first day delivering was a huge learning curve. I didn't know how to accept orders. I didn't know how to complete orders once I'd actually delivered them. I remember my first delivery was in a condo building. I went up, I dropped the food off, and then I spent about 20 minutes standing outside the condo building, unable to tell the person whose food I delivered that it was delivered to their door. I very quickly worked out that in order to complete an order, in order to complete a delivery, all you have to do is to snap a photo of the food to prove to both the customer and I guess to Uber that you delivered it successfully. Really simple, but only really simple when you actually know. But once I worked this out and I got going, the whole thing was a total breeze. Throughout the week, in fact, I had no shortage of delivery requests. If you've ever been in an Uber car itself, you'll know that sometimes they get requests for their next ride before your ride is over. The exact same thing happens with Uber Eats. It works out where you're going to be in the city and where there is deliveries to pick up local to that area so that you're not going all over the place back and forward and back and forwards. It makes it pretty smooth and seamless. In fact, there was only one day where there was a shortage of delivery requests for me, but other than that, they just keep rolling in. Uber also sometimes groups two deliveries from the same restaurant together, or allows you to pick up a second load of food on the way to delivering the first one if your route permits it. One thing I definitely learned throughout the week is that some places, some restaurants, bars, or coffee shops are easier to pick up from than others. Insider tip, Popeye's chicken is the worst. For some reason, they don't start preparing the food until the delivery driver has arrived, so you end up having to wait around for ages for them, whereas they're supposed to kind of have the food ready for you when you arrive. That's the whole point in the app, it's supposed to time everything out for you. Towards the start of the week as well, I was nervous about certain types of orders, specifically those that contain drinks. I remember the first time I picked up a Starbucks order, I was super nervous that they were just gonna spill all over my bag as I was cycling and hitting potholes and cracks in the road and things. But you do quickly gain some confidence in that. Partially because these places do generally pack it up quite well. They put lids on and they strap it all down and things. And partially because it turns out that backpack that I bought, the thermally insulated one, is an absolute machine at keeping things upright. Again, as long as you pack it properly, no problems. Other than that, the only slightly frustrating thing about the whole experience was that sometimes the app just kept taking me further and further away from home. There's a couple of days where when I was starting to finish up and getting a bit tired, I ended up about 45-minute cycle away from my house, which is just unfortunate. You know, if the app takes you from here to here and then instead of taking you back, it takes you another one and then another one, before you know it, you're in the middle of nowhere. I do believe that the driver part of the Uber app, where you're driving people around, you can actually set a setting to tell the app that you're on your way home and only accept rides that are going in that direction. I couldn't find this setting for the Uber Eats side of it. It could have just been me, but that would be an amazing feature to have as well. All in all, I had a great fun week, and after day 1 or even day 2, trust me, it is an absolute breeze and anyone could do it. All right, the moment of truth. I want to work out exactly how much I earned from doing this for an entire week. Now, I should point out that I did not spend as much time on this as I would as a full-time job, not by a long shot, but I did go out every single day of the week, and I did go out for at least a couple of hours each day. So from a 5-day work week, where throughout the week I worked a total of 12 hours and 24 minutes, I earned $311.68 in total. If I averaged that out, it worked out at about $7.42 per trip, or about $25 an hour. Now, $25 an hour is actually a pretty good wage, especially considering here in Ontario, the minimum wage is $14.25 an hour. So based on this, I did a little bit of maths. If you worked a 5-day work week for 48 weeks of the year, working 7 hours a day, which is a pretty standard amount of time to work if you're working full-time, you'd walk away with a yearly salary of about $42,000, which again is pretty good going. Now, the total amount that I earned this week is made up of the fares and the tips you receive as well. And for me, about $176 was my fares, leaving $138 to be my tips. 56% of my earnings was fares and 44% of my earnings was tips. So as you can see, tips are a massive part of the money you make on Uber Eats. Throughout the week, I actually tested different ways to try and receive more and more in tips. The best way obviously is just to accept more orders and do more writing, but then things like adding little comments in when you complete the delivery, thanking them by name, adding a bit of fun to the photo of their order you take. I found that doing these little things here and there just encourage people to tip a little bit more. And if every single person just tipped $1 more, it would massively increase my earnings. So yeah, tip your delivery drivers. Now, as I said before, $42,000 is a decent salary for this kind of job. Now, that being said, that's a full-time salary based on working 7 hours a day, and there is some limitations to this. The most obvious limitation is that if you choose to do it while cycling or walking, you're not only influenced by the amount of work available, but you're influenced by things even like the weather, which is totally out of your control. One day it started absolutely chucking it down, and I just stayed out on my bike. I didn't really care. But if you try to do this every day, you'd get a little bit tired of it. The second limitation to this, of course, is your fitness. I went out for between 2 and 4 hours every single day, and by the end of the week I was pretty tired. I do feel way more fit and healthy because of it, but there's no way that I could have cycled for 7 hours a day every single day. However, if you have a car or some sort of vehicle, I saw a lot of people using the electrically assisted bicycles, and this massively increases the time you can spend on the road. Coffee break. Okay, now that I've broken down the numbers of this, I do have some final comments that I would love to make. I really enjoyed doing this for a week. The most amazing thing about being an Uber Eats rider is that it's totally flexible. You decide when you log into the app, you decide how long you spend on it. If you get tired or bored, you can just stop for a break. It entirely fits around your schedule, which in my opinion makes it an incredible side gig. A little extra thing to just bring in a bit of extra cash, and even for me, just get me out of the house on days where I don't have anything else on. The other thing about this is that if you want a way to get paid to do exercise, this is absolutely it. A monthly gym membership is kind of expensive. It costs between 50 and 100 bucks depending where you go. But here, you can get out on the roads, but you can actually get paid for doing that. I think I made an average of about 70 bucks a day, which means that 2 or 3 hours of exercise, which would usually cost you money, actually earns you a bit of money by doing this. And going forward, that is exactly what I'm going to use Uber Eats for. I'm definitely going to keep my account open so I can continue to be a rider. And if ever I want to go out on a cycle, instead of just aimlessly cycling around the city, it gives me a bit of purpose and I earn a little bit of money and have a little bit of fun while I'm doing it. Why the heck not? Great side gig, great way to make money while exercising, but it's not going to be replacing my full-time jobs anytime soon. Again, the reason I decided to do this was really just to give myself another opportunity to try something different, try something new, and just see what happens. I am a firm believer that the more that you try, the more things that you put yourself out there for, the more all-round and successful you're going to be. Even if the thing itself is not for you, you leave it with another skill under your belt, another thing you can say you've done, another feather in your cap, if you will. And the more things you expose yourself to, the more time you spend doing different things, the more chance you have of finding the thing that you actually want to do. I had a great time doing this. I will definitely be keeping it up. Let me know in the comments if there's something you've tried recently that you never really expected yourself to do before. I'd love to hear your stories. That's about it from me for today, but if you did enjoy this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for visiting my channel again. As always, stay awesome, and I'll see you in the next one.